Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Happy Monday.
Good
Hope you all
morning.
had a nice weekend. We'll give everyone a moment to get signed in here. We have lots of friends in the waiting room today. Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our weekly call for community solutions, hosted by the Forbes Funds and GPNP. For those of you who haven't joined us before, our team has hosted these community calls weekly since March of 2020 to provide nonprofits with critical resources and updates, a shared space to discuss challenges, a snapshot of relevant policies, and timely insight from subject matter experts. Since that time, the Forbes Funds and GPNP have hosted 5,694 meetings with the participation of over 48,850 dedicated community members like you, and we continue to hear from members that this time remains valuable for discussing our emergent needs and opportunities in the social impact sector. We do all of this utilizing a dual framework that draws on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the social determinants of health to align cross-sector and guide the outcomes of our work. Additionally, the 8 returns model guides how we measure the success or returns on various forms of our investment. For today's call, we encourage you to go ahead and use the chat function to share your name and your organization with the group, as well as any comments or questions you might have during today's call. We also strongly encourage you to join us on screen to maximize engagement. We'll reserve time for a Q&A after our speaker presentation, followed by a few ecosystem updates. And as a friendly reminder, there will be a poll at the end of the call. Please do be sure to complete it so that we can keep our content and resources relevant to you. Today, we are going to hear from the Vibrant Pittsburgh team on building thriving workplaces. We're so excited to have a large chunk of the team here with us today. We have Sabrina Saunders Mosby, President and Chief Executive Officer. Sabrina is President and CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh, leading regional efforts to promote workforce diversity and inclusion across more than 50,000 stakeholders. A Pittsburgh native with extensive leadership experience in government and nonprofits, she's known for her visionary, collaborative approach to community impact. Sabrina has received numerous accolades, including Pittsburgh Magazine's 40 Under 40 and the Pittsburgh Business Times Power 100. She currently serves on several boards, including the Allegheny Health Network and Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. Sabrina holds degrees from Edinburgh and Carlow Universities and lives in Pittsburgh with her husband and son. We also have Sabrina Bogus, who is Senior Director of Membership Development and Engagement. Sabrina oversees strategic partnerships and member relations at Vibrant, and she brings over a decade of nonprofit leadership experience with a focus on team management, membership growth, and event execution. Sabrina is deeply committed to creating positive, inclusive experiences for all stakeholders. And outside of work, she's interested in supporting victim advocacy, crafting, reading, and spending time with her nieces and nephews. We also have Allegra Elson, Director of Training and Development, where she leads, Allegra leads DEI educational programming with a background in teaching and curriculum design across nonprofit, academic, and international settings. She's taught in China, Indonesia, Italy, and Turkey, and served as an AmeriCorps instructor. She actively engages with the immigrant and refugee communities and serves on multiple advisory councils and boards, including ARISE and the City of Pittsburgh's Welcoming Communities Advisory Council. Allegra holds a master's in Italian from the University of Pittsburgh and a TESOL certificate from Columbia University and was recognized as a Pittsburgh 40 Under 40 honoree. We also have Matthew Yo, Programs and Services Manager. Matthew is responsible for coordinating programming and events throughout the year. He has experience managing educational programs and conferences nationally and has also worked locally to promote healthy food access through urban gardening. A native of Pittsburgh, Matthew holds a BS in sociology from St. Joseph University. He enjoys spending his free time with his plants, pets, family, and nature. So that's the core team that's going to be presenting with us today. We also have a few other team members, Dr. Amiola, who is Senior Director of Program Innovation and Impact. We also have Irving Torres, Assistant Director of Member Engagement. And Emma Konopka is the talent engagement coordinator for the team. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over. I know that was a lot of information. I think it was really important to hear everything that this team has to bring to the group, even beyond these roles that they play at Vibrant. So we're so glad to have you all here to tell us about Vibrant and your work and how to get more involved. Before I hand it over, I would just love to have Fred give a word, and then we can pass it on over to Sabrina. Fred?
Good morning, all. It's great to see everybody after the open and the great activity that took place over the past week in Pittsburgh. For those who were able to participate or actually go out to the open, it was a great experience for our region. I'm excited to hear from Sabrina and her team, in particular with the changes that have happened in our ecosystem the past several months. How is Pittsburgh positioned to take advantage of the new economy that's being created, and how might she advise nonprofits to explore ways of being different in a different environment? So I'm excited to hear what she has to say, and I'm excited she's actually here today because I'm quite sure there was a couple other places she probably was invited to be at as well as myself. So thank you, Sabrina and team.
Thank you so much. Pass it on over.
Thank you, Fred and Christine. And it's so good to see everyone. And Fred, I haven't seen you in a little while and I missed you at the open. So it's great to be here with you and your team and all of the members. Some Vibrant members I see as well that we share in common. As mentioned, I'm Sabrina Saunders Mosby, President and CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh. And at Vibrant, we believe that inclusion is more than value. It's a business strategy. And today, my team, who was just recently introduced, will share how we're helping employers across the region turn that strategy into action. It's been a very challenging time of uncertainty over the last couple of months for the core of our traditional work, but we are optimistic because members, companies, our regional leaders in Pittsburgh are still committed to the work of inclusion. And today, you're going to hear some real examples. We're going to explore some tools, and you're going to walk away with ideas that you can use tomorrow to build stronger teams and build more vibrant workplaces. And so, less of me, more of the team. We're going to dive right in. Allegra, can you take us away?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And as noted, I'm here with my team members, Matthew Yohe, Sabrina Bogus, and I am going to turn things over first to Matthew.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for the introduction. Happy to be here. As noted, my name is Matthew Yohe, and I'm the Programs and Services Manager with Vibrant Pittsburgh. So as we just mentioned, in today's workplaces, inclusion and belonging are key to building stronger teams and better outcomes. So in our session today, we'll discuss how organizations across the region are making workplace inclusion an everyday practice with lasting impact. We'll show how Vibrant Pittsburgh supports employers in the region in strengthening workplace culture, deepening connections, and creating environments where everyone feels seen, supported, and empowered to contribute. We'll get a look at tools such as Jobsburg, hear examples from member organizations, and walk away with ideas you can use to make a difference. So our objectives for our session today are to understand what workplace inclusion looks like and why it benefits everyone. Identify ways to turn inclusive strategies into everyday actions, explore Vibrant Pittsburgh tools, and learn how to engage with Vibrant Pittsburgh programs, services, membership, and events to support inclusion efforts at every level. So to get things started here, we are going to ask for a little engagement from you all in attendance today. This is a Slido poll. You can participate in this poll by scanning the QR code in the top left corner of the screen, or if you're on a computer, you can join at slido.com with the number in the bottom left-hand corner. This is anonymous, but we really would like some engagement and participation from you all in answering this question here. What does inclusion mean to you? And we'll pause here just for a moment while you all reflect. Answers will populate in real time on the screen here in a word cloud. And as always, if this isn't working for you, you can always drop an answer in the chat. We'll make sure to check that as well. But we'll just pause here for a moment as you respond to the question. So as you can see in the poll here at the very center of the poll, respect, large and green with the word cloud here. That means a lot of you are submitting respect as that word that comes to mind when you think about inclusion and what inclusion means to you. We see some other responses coming through here of acceptance, welcoming, dignity, being valued in action, not just verbiage. Care, coming with my whole self and being seen and heard. We have an answer in the chat as well, encouraging and belonging. Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for engaging with us in this poll, for kind of taking a moment to reflect, to ground ourselves in the conversation today. And a lot of commonality in here, but a lot of unique responses too of what inclusion means to you. And briefly, I just want to next define inclusion to provide a shared language and understanding for us all moving forward. This definition is adapted from the Ford's Foundation. Inclusion builds a culture of belonging by actively inviting the contribution and participation of all people. It's a belief that every person's voice adds value, keeping in mind that no one person can or should be called upon to represent an entire community. This is also paired with the acknowledgement and mitigation of the power differences that may be at play. So an inclusive workplace is characterized by a culture and an environment that values and respects diversity and ensures that all individuals, regardless of their differences, feel welcomed, accepted, and supported. Research by Catalyst confirms that both belongingness, which is defined as the perception that one feels part of a group, and uniqueness, defined as the perception that one is distinct from others, and that others value that distinctiveness, are both critical factors for inclusion. And another key feature of an inclusive workplace is the role of leadership. As leaders, we are all leading within our own zones of influence. And our number one priority is to create an inclusive culture where everyone feels accepted, understood, and valued. And I want to highlight that leadership isn't limited to those with official title or status. So no matter your background, your experience, your identity, or where you are within your organization, you can lead inclusively. And then as inclusive leaders, we can build equitable environments where everyone can thrive. And again, tying this back to that inclusion definition, that sense of belonging, connection, and community at work, a place where you feel welcomed, known, and valued. The workforce of today and the future is becoming increasingly diverse across ethnicity, generations, race, and many other dimensions of diversity. And with this, organizations must prioritize building an inclusive workplace that fosters belonging. And here on the screen, you'll see a few data points to highlight inclusion's impact on business. Research from Boston Consulting Group, based on data from over 27,000 employees, show that when leadership prioritizes inclusion, attrition risk decreases by 50%. When employees believe inclusion is a leadership priority, overall employee happiness increases by 31 percentage points, and motivation rises by nearly 25 percentage points. And this is all particularly relevant given Gallup's 2024 report that showed employee engagement in the US has dropped to its lowest level in about a decade, with only about 31% of employees reported being actively engaged in their work. And the cost of that disengagement in the United States is estimated to be about $350 billion in lost productivity per year. So why does this all matter? An inclusive workplace where employees feel welcomed and have that sense of belonging leads to higher job satisfaction and lower turnover. And then beyond engagement and beyond retention, diverse teams and inclusive workplaces drive better business outcomes by having more creativity, better decision-making, and connecting with wider audiences. So ultimately, organizations that align their mission and values with employee well-being will set themselves up for success. So what is Vibrant Pittsburgh's role in this? To answer that question, I'm going to pass things over to my colleague, Allegra Elson. Allegra?
Thank you, Matthew, and good morning again, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm Allegra Elson. I serve as Director of Training and Development with Vibrant Pittsburgh. Vibrant Pittsburgh is a premier economic development membership organization dedicated to supporting the growth and economic competitiveness of Pittsburgh as the region's central resource, spokesperson, and convener on workplace inclusion and belonging. Through strategic action, Vibrant Pittsburgh builds inclusive workplace cultures by engaging both leadership and staff in meaningful conversations and shared learning, broadens the region's talent pool by helping companies connect with talent beyond traditional networks, equips employers with the tools, trainings, and data needed to advance equity and inclusion, strengthens the regional economy by connecting inclusive workforce practices to long-term business and community growth. We move inclusive workplace cultures past surface level experiences, deepening the conversations and expanding the resources for meaningful culture change. How do we do all of this that I just named? We want to look at it from two main perspectives today: training and development and membership engagement. So I'll start first with training and development and highlight to you what it is our member organizations and their staff can access through Vibrant Pittsburgh membership. We have monthly lunch and learns. These are monthly virtual sessions. They are open to all member employees and offer a welcoming, interactive space to learn about key workplace inclusion topics. Past topics and future topics include fostering intergenerational collaboration, body inclusivity in action, the ABCs of LGBTQIA+ inclusion, interfaith dialogues, and allyship. And those are monthly. We always provide resources, and we also always record those for future use for our members. We have quarterly Vibrant Learning Labs, and these are a series of trainings from virtual to in-person workshops that highlight critical opportunities to demonstrably improve practices, policies, and cultures of participating organizations. We have had workshops on employee networks or employee resource groups, how to start them, how to sustain them. We've worked with companies on supplier diversity plans and examined supplier diversity plans. We've also talked about better ways to access membership and showing how we continue to evolve, and we continue to evolve our programming for all of our member organizations. We also have customized trainings, climate surveys, and engagement surveys. So our training and programming can be customized to a member-specific area of focus. So that is private trainings that we can deliver virtually, in person, or hybrid, and those are customized. Climate surveys that assess the overall workplace environment and how it affects employees, and engagement surveys that aid in understanding individual motivation of staff and their commitment to the organization. Some important training topics for us in particular this year in 2025 have been the power of empathy, inclusive leadership, the business of belonging, and also promoting a culture of disability inclusion. And we know that our members see about $150,000 in training costs that are deferred by members by participating and using our training and development programs. So up next is a case study, but I want to hold for just a moment to see if there are any comments or questions about this part of Vibrant Pittsburgh Services.
Nothing in the chat right now, Allegra.
All right, thank you, Christine. We're going to look at a Vibrant Pittsburgh member case study, and what I want to highlight is this is a composite or representative case study. It reflects the types of challenges Vibrant Pittsburgh member organizations face today and the support we can provide. The following case study is inspired by real needs within our membership, and it demonstrates how our offerings can support an organization with unique goals and challenges. Let's look at a community-based nonprofit in southwestern Pennsylvania with 50 employees looking for workplace inclusion support. Here's the challenge. The organization recently hired more staff from immigrant and multilingual communities to reflect their diverse client base. However, some long-term staff felt left out of conversations or unsure of how to connect across language and also cultural differences. We did a Vibrant Pittsburgh survey to sort of check in on what was happening with the staff, and we found that there were lower feelings of belonging among new and multilingual staff. There was uncertainty around what inclusion looks like day to day in the day-to-day work, and discomfort among supervisors in addressing cultural misunderstandings. So I know that some of you are very familiar with Vibrant Pittsburgh's work. Some of you, you're learning about our work. Out of the services that were just highlighted, what services do you think perhaps Matthew and I might recommend? And I'll just hold for a second. You can, mull on that, think about it, and of course, I will let you know what solutions we came up with. But I'll just hold for just a few moments for you to take a moment to pause and think about this case study.
Can we see the slide of services again?
Absolutely. All right. So as you're looking at the slide, you're thinking about a small nonprofit with a multilingual staff, thinking about how there has been some miscommunication. Folks are not feeling like they belong. Folks are unsure of how to communicate with one another. All right, so let's talk about it a little bit. So let's look at some solutions. The solutions in this case were based on training and focused on training and development. So as we said, we had an engagement survey and some listening sessions. We helped relaunch the employee engagement survey with new questions focused on belonging, psychological safety, inclusion and decision making. Then we hosted listening sessions to unpack the results and co-create action steps with staff. The outcome was leadership had clearer insight into team needs, staff felt heard and involved in shaping change within the organization. Given that it's a small nonprofit, budgets are slim, margins are very slim right now. One of the first things they did was to access our lunch and learns. They attended live. They checked out the recordings. We always provide resources and post-training discussion questions so that folks can continue the conversation beyond the lunch and learn. So they were able to use those for some internal professional development. And then as they were able to find the budget for more customized learning, we did a training series called Inclusive Everyday Practices. So we delivered a 3-part interactive training course for all staff, including clear communication, so communication around cultural competency, how to communicate clearly with each other, microaggressions and microaffirmations, and also facilitating inclusive conversations. So also think about that in terms of we were building the training. It was not a one and done. It was not once a year. We came in quarterly and did those trainings and had them build and scaffold on them. The outcome was staff reported feeling more confident in navigating cultural differences and addressing exclusion when it showed up. So that's one case study. We are going to talk about a different case study, and we are going to move next into membership engagement. But I would also love to hold here and see if there are any comments or any questions about this plan that we used with this organization. All right. Well, as promised, we're going to move into another aspect of our services, which is membership engagement, and I'm going to turn things over to Sabrina Bogus.
Great. Thank you, Allegra. So I'm going to highlight just some additional ways that membership with Vibrant supports your workplace culture and in turn aids how in increasing overall workplace inclusion and belonging leaning towards advantages for your business. So one of the first things I always tell everyone in membership with Vibrant is not a one size fits all. With a variety of opportunities, we try to ensure that our membership can find ways to feel that feels authentic for them to engage with our benefits. As much like our membership, inclusion and belonging is also not one size fits all. From our Vibrant collaboratives and our membership and executive engagement events, our goal is to not only provide professional development and programming and networking opportunities for our employees, but often more importantly, the opportunity for our employees to connect with other member employees in the region. So really making sure that they're getting the chance to meet other employees at our other members within our membership here at Vibrant. With us having more than 130 member organizations made up of over 23 different industries, ranging from small nonprofit to large corporations, our events give our members the connection with people they might not have had the chance to meet on a day-to-day basis. They have the chance to learn and share best practices in a collaborative setting, and then bring those new ideas back to their workplace to help to make them more inclusive. An important goal of these events that can't be forgotten is the connections that they're making. So one thing that we really hear at all of our membership events is, a lot of our employees are often new to the region. So they have just moved here, or they maybe only have been in Pittsburgh for a couple of years. And one of the things that we hear is, they've just moved to Pittsburgh and they don't have a connection, or they don't have that inclusive feeling here in Pittsburgh. And so our events, their goal, really one of the many goals is yes, you're coming to learn programming and you're coming to get resources, but it is to build that inclusive network here in Pittsburgh, because we know the more connected that you're feeling, the more likely you are to stay, the more likely you are to build that network. And that's what we want. We want Pittsburgh to be as an inclusive a region as possible. So through our collaboratives, through our membership and our executive engagement events, we're really looking to build that inclusive region. And for businesses, that's a great way for them to keep their employees, keep that inclusive network, and that way they're more likely to stay. And so it's a great way to build that inclusive business practice for all of our member organizations. And then another benefit that we offer is our Vibrant job benefits that we have. So building an inclusive workplace also includes on how you promote your open positions. To support that work, we also want to ensure that we're supporting how our members get their open positions out into the community. So another benefit that we offer with our membership is our Vibrant Pittsburgh is our job promotion benefits. So we really focus on 3 areas when it comes to job promotion benefits. The first that we offer is a member exclusive job board, where our members can post, not only their open job positions, but you can also post open internship positions that you might have, board positions that you might have. So it's a way for our members to just really promote out any kind of open positions you have currently at your organization. From there, we also have our bi-monthly JobsPerks newsletter. So that newsletter goes out to more than 2,500 inboxes that we have. That is a bi-monthly newsletter that we do. It does highlight not only those open positions that we have on our job board, but it does also highlight any community job fairs that we have, any kind of job fairs that our members are hosting. It also has job resources that are available within the community. Then our third resource we have is our JobsPerk on LinkedIn. So any jobs that get posted to our job board, we also make sure we highlight not only in that newsletter, but on our JobsPerk on LinkedIn. For this, I actually always like to reference back to myself when I talk about the job board. Before I actually worked at Vibrant Pittsburgh, I used our job board myself. Because for me, I knew that any organization that was posting to the job board at Vibrant Pittsburgh, I knew that inclusion was an important part of their organization. So it was something that they stood behind, because Vibrant Pittsburgh, that is something that is important as a organization. That if they're part of Vibrant Pittsburgh, inclusion is something that is part of their mission. So a lot of our members, that's what they talk about, is when they're posting to Vibrant Pittsburgh's job board, when they hear from people that are, coming through the job board there, that's something that they are hearing, that, oh, I saw your position on the Vibrant Pittsburgh job board. We knew it was kind of, in a sense, a stamp of approval. So for me, that was another way that whenever I was looking through jobs on the job board, I was like, oh, Vibrant Pittsburgh, I know that inclusion is an important part of their mission as well. So that's what we've been hearing a lot from our members. So it's a way to tie inclusion practices back into your jobs, your job postings. So it's just another way to highlight inclusion work in your job postings. Like I said, we post them to our job board, our JobsPerks newsletter, and our JobsPerk on LinkedIn. So it's just another way for us to share those resources back out as well. And then I'm going to share, Allegra has another, go ahead, Allegra, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And you can jump in here too as we go through
Yeah.
this next case study. So this is a mid-sized software company case study. They are headquartered in Pittsburgh with 250 employees, and they are steadily improving recruitment while noticing community connections are lagging. So the challenge is the company is growing quickly. They want to ensure that new hires feel welcome, connected, and supported from day one. Leadership recognizes the need for community and connection for new hires while also admitting that they're not quite ready to launch employee resource groups, ERGs. And so they're looking for ways to connect employees to external community networks beyond the workplace. So given, I want to leave some time for Q&A. So I will, Sabrina and I will go over the answers with you now as you sort of mull this challenge over. But our solutions were based on membership engagement and also external partnerships. So thinking about how other ways to connect with Vibrant Pittsburgh and connect with all of our members. As Sabrina said, we have over 130 members. So this company joined as a Vibrant Pittsburgh corporate member, and they began to strategically use Vibrant Pittsburgh's resources. So they listed open roles on JobsBurg to increase visibility and to increase their talent pool. They promoted Vibrant Pittsburgh events and our collaboratives to their staff, especially new hires and interns via onboarding. So they met their new hires and their interns at onboarding and talked to them about Vibrant Pittsburgh, and also in their internal communications with their company. So the outcome of this was that new team members gained access to broader regional networks and a stronger sense of community even before ERGs, employer resource groups, were in place. And so it was important really to share these opportunities, as I said, at that moment of onboarding to help their new hires build some regional connections and also build that sense of belonging with the region too, because we can't just always be about work. We have to sort of spread it out into the region, and that also makes people want to stay here too. Sabrina, anything you wanted to add to this case study?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, one of the things we see a lot is with new hires especially. So for new hires when they're coming on board, using the collaboratives is a great way to get them part of the region. So that's, I think, one of the things we hear, like I said, what I was talking about with the having them get connections. It's sometimes hard when you're new to the region to build community, to make new friends, as weird as it sounds, but to make those new connections and to feel like you're part of the region. If you're not building those connections, you're not going to stay. So that's one of the ways a lot of our members will use those collaboratives, is to help their new employees to feel connected here. So that is a great way that our members have taken advantage of those collaboratives and membership engagement events, is to help their onboarding of their new staff for sure.
Yeah, thanks. So I see we're starting to see a few questions in the chat, but I have one more question for you all as you've heard this, as you're sort of mulling things over and thinking about it. This is also a Slido poll here. If you have it open on your phone, it should just load back up into this question. But what Vibrant Pittsburgh resources are you most interested in? That's the question. What Vibrant Pittsburgh resources are you most interested in? Would love to hear from you on which ones you're interested in. And as you start to answer this, we would love to answer any questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and also unmute if you would like. We'd love to have a conversation with you too. I will share other ways to connect with Vibrant Pittsburgh in a moment, but let's take a look in the chat and see what questions there are. So there's one question around, do you work with nonprofit boards? And Sabrina Saunders Mosby, I'm going to kick that question over to you. I know that we do, but I think you have more information with that question.
Awesome. Thanks, Allegra. So we have first and foremost, we encourage board engagement as it relates to membership with Vibrant Pittsburgh, right? And so in sharing the resources and the tools that we have available back to the board so that they are informed. But we have also provided workshops and training to boards directly to help them think about how they're integrating inclusion into governance practices. So that's reviewing bylaws, thinking about inclusive leadership policies, and of course, advising on board self-assessments while thinking about strategic inclusion roadmaps as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
But obviously, it starts with the engagement of the organization directly, and hopefully the board is involved in that decision making. The other piece that I would say we should think about when considering board engagement is one of our tools, the Vibrant Index. And so, or just assessment in general, right? So engagement surveys and culture surveys as well, is thinking about how those assessments and benchmarks can improve or influence leadership and policies at the governance level, which typically is overseen by the board.
Mhm.
Hope that helps and answers your question. But yes, ultimately we do.
Yeah, and if the person who asked that question would like more follow-up, please let us know. I think one other thing I did want to say too is that all of the services that we offer to our members, we can offer also to the general public as part of our consultation services. So definitely connect with us about membership, connect with us about all of our resources. But it doesn't just stop at our membership. It does go out, across the region also. So we are also happy to talk about and help any organization that is interested in this work. The next question in the chat is, do you have resources to help new hires families develop area connections? And I think this is a question for both Sabrinas, but do you have resources to help new hires families develop area connections?
Yeah, so some of that is through, we do have a resource on our website called the Explore Vibrant Pittsburgh page. And so that is a great resource that's actually just on our website. I will pull that up and actually drop it in the chat. So let me pull it up. And that's a great resource of local businesses here in Pittsburgh that have come as a suggestion from a lot of our Vibrant Pittsburgh members. So that have, in a sense, been recommended or vetted member resources that are businesses that are either from our member employees or have been gone to and are loved by our member employees. I guess member employees, I should say.
Yeah. And so in addition to the resources that we know are really important, right? When you come to a new place, you have to get your bearings and understand how you're going to engage with that place, or where you're going to shop, where you're going to educate your children, where you're going to live. If you were looking for a place to advance in your faith journey, those places are going to be really important to how you live and you thrive in this particular region. And so we have resources to connect to in that aspect. But then there's also the one-to-one relationships as well. As a Pittsburgher born and bred, having roots and having family and connection is really beneficial. And so we know that when folks come into the region, they're looking for that kind of connection, but also that level of support. The best example I can give is during the pandemic when we were engaging folks that were kind of moving to Pittsburgh blindly. Member organizations would connect them to me primarily directly, and I would spend time with them, sometimes their partner or spouses, or even our children on Zoom, and talk about all of those things, right? To have a personal connection with them, talk about the communities that they were considering, talk about the school district, talk about the things that the summer camps and things that they were thinking about for their children. So we absolutely we take a very personalized one-on-one approach to engaging new members, new neighbors, new friends to Pittsburgh for sure. That's something that is unique to Vibrant.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to take a moment to highlight the entire Vibrant Pittsburgh team. We can't do it's not just the 4 of us doing all this work. It is the 11 of us doing this work together, and it is a great team. I encourage you with that QR code, you can meet all of us on our website. And Christine, I'm going to go to a next slide to see, just to give people different ways to engage with Vibrant. Want to be cognizant of time, but if there are any more questions or comments, we're happy to field those. And then, of course, I will turn things over to Sabrina Saunders Mosby to wrap things up. But we can hold here for a moment to see if there are any other questions.
Yeah, we can pause, double check if there are any questions. We do have a little bit more time because we're not doing policy updates today, so have a little bit of time. I did want to again, and I wanted to put this in the chat so it was known. I can speak personally that I have had just the most amazing experience with almost every single Vibrant team member on this call over the past 3 or 4 years in my professional experience. And I think it's so valuable to highlight in these moments where we're not sure where to invest, you know, purchasing memberships or spending our time in a workshop. Where should I be doing it? There's so much out there. There's a lot of noise. And I just appreciate knowing that when I come to the Vibrant space, it's worth my time, it's worth my investment. And so we're really, really grateful to be working with you all and to have your support. Another question I think it would be really great to hear from you all on is what is your advice, given the current climate, on organizations that are seeing resistance, on organizations that are feeling, you know, these precarious feelings that we're feeling? Do you have any words of advice on how, because obviously you don't have you know, a single silver bullet that fixes everything here, but this is a space where we like to gather and have everyone kind of sort of come together around that. So I'd love to hear from any of you what you might have to offer there.
I will, I'm happy to defer to Sabrina Saunders Mosby. I have my thoughts, but I would start with Sabrina and then we can work through the team if she would like.
Great.
Sure, absolutely. And obviously we're getting questions like this more frequently and trying to be as open in our external communications with resources. The best way that Vibrant Pittsburgh knows that we can help and stand in the gap at this time is to provide resources and tools and a space to collaborate on how we move forward together as a region and navigate some true uncertainty, right? In this moment that has directly impacted the way that we do our work too. So we are 1000% in this with you, and I appreciate the question. The best way for me to advise, first of all, we've done a number of things already by convening our members and providing them with tangible resources and some steps, right? So we have a guide that we can share that we've shared with our members that will equip you with if you have not made any decisions about how you're going to move forward in this particular climate. We're talking about the socio-political climate, right? Let's name it. That is requiring some thought around how you communicate the work that you are doing around workplace inclusion, how you are approaching things like grants and funding in this time period as well, where there are some recommended changes to the way that companies are presenting themselves and also explaining the ROI for the work that they do. So we have a tool that we've put together, a quick one-sheeter as well that we can share with you with some specific next steps. What is it going to tell you to do? One, it's going to tell you to stay informed. So specifically with the executive orders, right? Executive orders, which are recommendations, not specific law, but the things that are that are being enforced in some areas, especially if you're receiving federal dollars. And so review and stay connected to also cases that are in court right now that are against those executive orders and how that might impact you or your work. You don't have to pause, but you do need to be thoughtful in the way that you continue to do your work. And many of our members are continuing to do the work. It may look a little bit different. The language may be a bit more intentional and thoughtful, but they're still doing workplace inclusion work and building cultures of inclusion. So for grants and contracts, definitely look at new certification clauses, right? And diversity, equity, and inclusion restrictions specifically. You have to be really thoughtful about that. We've heard a lot of de-risking happening. And so the first thing I probably should have said is that you need to talk with general counsel if you have access to, or if you have pro bono legal support, lean into it. I believe that the Forbes Funds has resources and support related to legal resources and relationships that you might be able to look into as well. but definitely seek legal counsel and any advice that you may need around compliance first and foremost, particularly if you're talking about things related to grants. We have and we've advised our members to update their public-facing materials and internal policies, and think about the way that you're framing diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging work. Think about the outcomes, how it's aligned to your mission, and not just ideology. That will help mitigate risk, especially under the new executive orders. Definitely think about Vibrant Pittsburgh as a resource, and we continue to convene our members around these topics to learn from them, to learn not just from their expertise, but remember, Vibrant Pittsburgh has members from small startup corporations and nonprofits to large global corporations with the vested interest in Pittsburgh. So that means that we are learning from them, from their expertise and their resources, and we're sharing it with our members. And so we make those best practices, those good practices available across our membership network. And right now it's highly valuable information that we make sure that is in the ecosystem so that we can support each other in this time. I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, really, the sum of that is just to keep ourselves informed and to keep convening and finding like-minded people to be working together with. And we really appreciate Vibrant's work, bringing that together and supporting everyone. So thank you so much, everyone, for all of your work. We look forward to engaging with you further. And I'm going to switch over to a couple ecosystem updates. If there are no other questions, let me double check. Yeah, there we go. Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, if there are any other questions, you can add them to the chat. Otherwise, we'll have material in our weekly newsletter as a recap to this call. You'll be able to see the recording. I'm going to go ahead and switch over. We do not have Emily with us today for public policy updates, so we're going to go directly just to a couple announcements and then end our call. So I just wanted to remind everyone that it is the second call for our GPMP Summit speaker application. The first call went out last month, I believe. I think we have a lot of applications, so if you are interested in participating, please get those applications in as soon as possible. And I will drop that in the chat as soon as I get through this, unless Bree, if you have that on hand. And then we also have coming up on Thursday, June 26th, is our TLC Golf Happy Hour from 5 to 8 p.m. That will be happening at First Tee Pittsburgh. We'll have food, networking, golfing for those if you're like me and you haven't golfed ever before, or if you're a pro, everybody is welcome. But most importantly, again, this is a space where we can convene and have those important discussions, do our networking, and figure out how to move forward. So next week, we have Daniel Little from Involvement presenting on our call. I see you're on the call, Daniel. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to hearing from you next week. And we hope that everybody has a wonderful week. Thanks again for all the hard work that you do, and we'll see you next Monday.